World War II is often considered the last good war. While we had our share of propaganda, there seemed to be a clear idea of who was good and who was evil. One thing seemed to be certain: America and its allies fought for freedom, and the Axis power fought for control and oppression. In the Marvel Universe, HYRDA was the organization that personified these fascist ideals. Captain America defeated them, but was then frozen in the ice only to wake up 70 years later to a far different world.
What is it?
For as long as I can remember, I just wanted to do what was right. I guess I'm not quite sure what that is anymore. And I thought I could throw myself back in and follow orders, serve. It's just not the same.
So what is Steve talking about here, and what actually happened to America in real life after World War II? This looks like a massive national security operation, but it's not far off from the real world. There are currently 22 aircraft carriers in service, and 11 of them belong to the US. The UK, China, and Italy are all tied in second place, each with 2. The US has a military budget of $778 million per year, which is more than the next 11 countries combined. All of this is in the name of national security. Captain America doesn't seem too satisfied with this explanation.
These new long-range precision guns can eliminate 1,000 hostiles a minute. The satellites can read a terrorist's DNA before he steps outside his spider hole. We're gonna neutralize a lot of threats before they even happen.
I thought the punishment usually came after the crime.
We can't afford to wait that long.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
After HYRDA was defeated in World War II, the American government set up SHIELD, which was organized to protect the United States from all possible threats, similar to Homeland Security. HYRDA was not killed off, however, and they had managed to infiltrate SHIELD over the past 70 years.
HYRDA was founded on the belief that humanity could not be trusted with its own freedom. What we did not realize was that if you try to take that freedom, they resist. The war taught us much. Humanity needed to surrender its freedom willingly. After the war, SHIELD was founded, and I was recruited. The new HYRDA grew, a beautiful parasite inside SHIELD. For 70 years, HYRDA has been secretly feeding crisis, reaping war. And when history did not cooperate, history was changed.
In the Marvel Universe, this totalitarian ethos is confined to HYRDA. But how does it apply in the real world? Let's take it apart piece by piece. Zola is correct, and in the real world, freedoms are often given up willingly. Following the 9/11 attacks in 2001, the Patriot Act was signed, resulting in unchecked government power to search through financial records, medical history, internet use, travel patterns, and much more. Although this had already been occurring to some extent, as seen in the 1998 film Enemy of the State, it greatly expanded the government's ability to do surveillance while simultaneously removing oversight. In 2011, President Obama signed into law the National Defense Authorization Act, which gives the government the power to arrest and indefinitely detain American citizens without charges. This was meant to only be used on suspected terrorists, but as seen just a couple of days ago, the definition of terrorist is constantly expanding. Then in 2020, there were the COVID lockdowns. The Attorney General William Barr had this to say about them.
We treat free citizens as babies that, can't take responsibility for themselves and others. Putting a national lockdown stay-at-home orders is like house arrest. It's other than slavery, which was a different kind of restraint, this is the greatest intrusion on civil liberties in American history.
Iran, Cuba, Nicaragua. These are just a few of the dozens of coups that the US has staged since World War II. Some of the coups have been the result of direct military intervention, while others have been the result of the US financing and arming rebels. And then there has also been US support of one side during an election. Many times these coups have resulted in blowback, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, the 1979 Iranian Revolution, or the civil war in Libya that saw the return of the slave trade. All of this has been to advance Western interests around the world.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
The military-industrial complex refers to the relationship between the military and the defense industry that funds it. There are many large corporations such as Raytheon and Halliburton who have made insane profits off of the wars. In addition, many generals after retiring will take jobs making over $1 million per year as lobbyists for the defense industry. This has formed what some have called a shadow government of unelected corporate profiteers and bought politicians who assist them.
Of all the things that you hope are not true about the way the world works, that would probably be number one.
Well, you can take your tinfoil hat off because the military-industrial complex is a real thing. I mean, you see that very directly through contributions that are being made to politicians by different defense contractors and the corresponding votes that are then taken. But you also see this corruption that's happening before our very eyes happening within places like the Pentagon, where you either have people in uniform or civilians who are working in contracting, for example, in the Pentagon, laying the groundwork for writing up these contracts, major multi-billion-dollar contracts with these big defense contractors, and then lay down the uniform, or you retire from service either as a civilian or in the military, and then you turn around, leave that door and walk into another door working for the very same contractor that you just wrote the contract for.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
The 21st century is a digital book. Zola taught HYRDA how to read it. Your bank records, medical histories, voting patterns, emails, phone calls, your damn SAT scores. Zola's algorithm evaluates people's past to predict their future.
What then?
Oh my God, Pierce is gonna kill me.
What then?
Then the inside helicarrier scratched people off the list. A few million at a time.
The Terrorist Screening Center is the real-life government watch list, but unlike HYRDA's plans, they have not yet taken the Minority Report style step of neutralizing any domestic threats before they have committed a crime. They have done this abroad though, as the war in Iraq was infamously referred to as a preemptive strike. There have been some publicly expressed desires to expand this government watch list, as former CIA Director John Brennan expands on that in this clip.
So I know looking forward that the members of the Biden team who have been nominated or have been appointed are now moving in laser-like fashion to try to uncover as much as they can about what looks very similar to insurgency movements that we've seen overseas, where they germinate in different parts of a country and they gain strength, and it brings together an unholy alliance frequently of religious extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
Furthermore, a tweet by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has given rise to the Trump Accountability Project, which aims to create a McCarthy-style blacklist of everyone who worked with the Trump administration in some way, shape, or form. Shifting back to Captain America, Steve ends up destroying this security apparatus that HYRDA spent decades building up, amounting to billions of dollars of damage, and the equivalent of the destruction of several aircraft carriers. Furthermore, Cap and his team make all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s records public, leading to this showdown on Capitol Hill.
He could explain how this country is expected to maintain its national security now that he and you have laid waste to our intelligence apparatus.
HYRDA was selling you lies, not intelligence.
Many of which you seem to have had a personal hand in telling.
Agent, you should know that there are some on this committee who feel, given your service record, both for this country and against it, that you belong in a penitentiary, not mouthing off on Capitol Hill.
What Natasha Romanoff did in the film very closely mirrors the actions of both Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. Snowden leaked classified information that exposed the extent of government surveillance. What he did was actually mild compared to what Romanoff did in the film, as he did not leak all of the information that he could have. Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks, which was the platform for leaked government information. This site notoriously hosted leaks provided by Chelsea Manning, which infamously exposed US airstrikes killing civilians in Iraq. Unlike Romanoff, neither of these men are seen as heroes, as Snowden is in asylum in Russia and Assange is currently languishing in a British prison.
The Sokovia Accords, approved by 117 countries, it states that the Avengers shall no longer be a private organization. Instead, they'll operate under the supervision of a United Nations panel only when and if that panel deems it necessary.
Even in a world without HYRDA, Captain America is skeptical of excessive government overreach. In the case of General Ross, Cap is justified in his skepticism as General Ross's risky actions resulted in the abomination destroying a large part of New York. In the comics, Ross's lust for power further manifests itself as he forms a team of his own called the Thunderbolts, and he eventually becomes Red Hawk. But Steve even mistrusts people in his own team.
Phase 2 is S.H.I.E.L.D. uses the cube to make weapons. Sorry, the computer was moving a little slow for me.
Rogers, we gathered everything related to the Tesseract. This does not mean that we're
sorry,
making...
Nick. What were you lying? I was wrong, Director. The world hasn't changed a bit.
Every time someone tries to win a war before it starts, innocent people die. Every time. We're the Avengers. We can bust arms dealers all the livelong day, but that up there, that's the end game. How are you guys planning on beating that? Together. We'll lose. And we'll do that together too.
Captain America objects to both Nick Fury and Tony Stark trying to create powerful weapons in the name of security. They want to build these weapons to defend against aliens, which is far more extreme than any threat that we face on Earth. Yet Cap still objects. In the real world, it's unlikely that many of us would share the same opinion. The ambitions of the security state are first depicted by the Red Skull, but then via the backstory of the Winter Soldier, it's shown that HYRDA spread to the US and Soviet Union simultaneously. It appears that Bucky had been working exclusively for the Soviet Union though, as Black Widow actually makes a reference to this in Civil War. Since World War II, the US and the Soviet Union fought a series of proxy wars, including the Korean War, the war in Vietnam where the Soviets supported the Viet Cong, and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan where the US provided support such as Stinger missiles to the Mujahideen. After the Soviet Union fell in 1991, the first president of Russia, Boris Yeltsin, was very friendly with the US and NATO. This could possibly provide a real-world explanation as to how Bucky ended up under the control of the American branch of HYRDA.
HYRDA. SHIELD. Two sides of a coin. There are other facilities doing HYRDA's good work around the world.
Both HYRDA and General Ross were a part of a multinational effort for surveillance and control, and Captain America opposed both.
We will not, however, let misfortune drive us back. We will fight to improve the world we wish to join. I am grateful to the Avengers for supporting this initiative.
All of this leads me to wonder, would Captain America be the good guy in real life? Imagine someone who destroys aircraft carriers, dumps a bunch of classified intelligence data for everyone to see, resists everyone's attempts to build planetary security systems, and refuses to be under anyone's control. What would Captain America think about widespread regime change or mass surveillance? What would he think about some of the things happening in the COVID age, such as contact tracing, censorship, and lockdowns? If you have concluded that Captain America would be an enemy of the state in real life, and also against many of the COVID measures, then why is he one of the most popular superheroes? How has this disconnect formed, as many audience members cheer on Captain America's libertarian ideals on the screen, while being either ambivalent or supportive for the opposite ideas in the real world? That's the Zeitgeist, guys. This is part 2 of a 6-part series that I want to do about my favorite comic book movies. If you enjoy my content, make sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.